Are you planning on racing 70.3 North Carolina this year? Well, if so, this is the video for you because in it, I'm going to go through with a local expert the swim, the bike, the run course, and all lots of little logistical gems that you will need to have an absolute belter of a race day. So, now who am I and who am I talking to? My name is Coach Steve or Steven Moody from Dublin, Ireland. I'm an Ironman U certified coach, but more recently, I'm a YouTuber who actually does these race review videos. Notice I'm holding back calling myself an influencer because I do not want to sound like a prat. But I get a lot of kicks out of actually reviewing races around the world, 70.3, Ironman, other long distance races. But how do I do that? I reach out and I connect with really cool coaches or race organizers, race announcers who know the course. So then I ask them all the questions that you're going to ask, as in, is it wetsuit legal? Where's transition? What's the road surface like? I just sort of put myself in the athlete mode and I ask all the questions of local experts. So, who's the expert for North Carolina? I'm delighted to have Coach Thomas Skelton on the call today, or the third, shall we say, royalty, who is based in Carolina, and he's going to tell us a little bit about himself and like how he knows the course, and then we're going to dive into detail. So, Thomas, how are you doing?
I'm fantastic. Yeah, super excited to be here.
Cool. And give us a little bit of background in your coaching, was your experience and your experience at this race.
Yeah, so I've been going to the area for the race since 2013, before it was 74.3 North Carolina back in the Beach to Battleship days, if anybody actually remembers that when they had the half and full out there. Yeah, and it's pretty much returned to the similar course from that, which is fantastic, kind of finishing in front of the battleship, which is pretty cool. But it's a wonderful area. I think we've been there, gosh, 8 or 9 times in probably 8 times in the last 12 years or so. So very familiar with the area, very familiar with the course and logistics around that.
Cool. And do you have any races, any athletes racing this year?
I think we have 4 or 5 doing North Carolina this year, and I think there's a handful on the fence that are trying to determine if they want to or not, and kind of how it fits into their schedule for the season. So, yeah,
Cool. So let's tell them all about the race and they can make that get
yeah,
their asses off the fence, huh?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think I'm not planning to race this year, but I will probably. I volunteered last year at the Mount Line, which, to be honest, in my 15 years in sport, was the first time I've ever volunteered at a Ironman half or full event. And man, I'm going to take a second and plug, if you happen to be local to a race, you've got a spouse or friend racing, and you have the opportunity to volunteer, like absolutely take it. It's unbelievably it's super fun, and the volunteers are honestly the only reason these races happen. So if you get a chance to volunteer, like please, please, please jump on it. You won't regret it.
Yeah, 100%. I volunteer at my local race all the time, and again, it's not, but it's the energy in the day, and it's kind of cool because you're actually you get a lot of feedback from your
Yeah,
mates and all the rest, and randomers and all the rest. You get up. But let's
for
go
sure.
into the details and let's dive in, shall we say, to the swim start, which is looks like a point to point swim. So, what can
Yes.
athletes expect on the day, Thomas?
I think at first it's really important to recognize that logistics on this race are different. I believe it is the only remaining point to point race, kind of in the Ironman circuit. So, I don't want to skip the swim, but if you notice, obviously T1 right there, kind of near the swim exit, you do need to know that this is on. So, if we think about North Carolina, it's a long kind of state shaped state. The coast over here, you start, you actually swim, you bike inland into town, and then you will finish kind of actually at a little bit of a different point as well. So logistics are a little bit different. And they've got all the information about the shuttles. Take a minute, read all those. There are shuttles to take you from town, shuttles to take you from transition here in the morning to the swim start. I have walked it and I have taken the shuttles. Both are fine. Yeah, absolutely. There's parking all along the backside of transition, and you can just walk right along the road. It is, a 1.2, 1.4 mile walk, give or take. So you got a lot, enough time. If you're good getting on the shuttle, I would just jump on the shuttle and go for that. It'll save you a little bit of time. And it's, just like all the races now, a very traditional rolling start, and everybody kind of corrals. If you see the little blue and gray boxes down there, that's kind of where the corrals are for the swim start. Back morning clothes drops right over there, and yeah, then you just kind of get in line and get ready. It is usually a wetsuit legal swim, and you just kind of walk out into the water and get started on your own.
So
It
is
is
that
a down current.
is
So,
it off a beach start or a pontoon start or how do you get into the water?
yep. It is a beach start. You'll walk down the little, I guess it's like a wooden dock kind of towards the beach. You'll walk onto the beach and just ride into the water and just wade on out and get going. It used to be back when they did waves, it was an in-water start, and now it is just kind of a traditional rolling start. Walk on in, you hit the timing mat, walk on in, and just kind of get started at the speed you want. So
And
it is
water
a
quality, what's the water quality like? Is it clear? Is it murky, or what can people expect?
it's Carolina murky kind of coastal water. Not dirty, but just murky. We've got kind of brown sandy beaches here, and the water is usually kind of dark green or brownish color to reflect that. But it's usually pretty calm. It is on the backside of the barrier island. So if you look at kind of the strip of land on the right side there, that is actually Wrightsville Beach. That's kind of the barrier island there. So you are actually swimming in the kind of canal on the backside of that island, and they do time the race start and I guess the day they pick it around the tides. So it is actually on I don't know if it's incoming or outgoing, forgive me, but basically you're swimming down current. So at least for that first little bit.
Great. And
Yeah.
in terms of is there anything that can people expect to find anything murky in the water in terms of is there any marine life that they're going to run into? Jellyfish,
Yeah.
sharks?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you'll it's not uncommon to see, dolphins swimming around in there occasionally. There could be some jellyfish, but it is very, very, very rare. It's not like Ironman Maryland where you're pretty much going to be swimming through jellyfish as a guarantee. I don't think I've ever had any issues swimming there, but we do have jellyfish, kind of little roundish ones, not with like the long tentacles, but I don't know what those are called. But
They're called Portuguese man of war, and if you meet
no,
them, you will
no,
never forget them.
no, no, no. What are they? Blue bottles or whatever they call them
Yeah.
in New Zealand. I don't remember. I digress.
No,
So
it's nothing that's going to kill you. I think that's
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that's the
yeah.
point we're getting across.
Yes, for sure, for sure, for sure. But it's a great swim. I think the biggest challenge is that it's not straight. Obviously, you can see from the picture, and
Yeah.
it's pretty accurate. So I think the thing you do have to think about with that first turn there is that the current is trying to push you that direction, right? So you do have to be careful with making that turn. It's not usually that strong. I think usually as the morning goes on, the current gets stronger. So people usually at the back of the race tend to get a little better push than those at the start. But it does have a couple little turns. And then I think probably the thing to make sure to know about is that when you get out of the swim, there are, I don't remember if it's 3 or 4 ladders. You're getting out onto a dock,
Oh
and
yeah.
they have ladders sitting off the edge of the dock. And so you will climb up those ladders, and there will be volunteers there to give a hand and kind of help pull you up those as well.
Cool. And do they have wetsuit strippers or peelers? Or I don't know
Yes.
what I'm allowed to call them
Yes.
anymore. Do they have
Yeah. I
wetsuit
mean,
strippers?
yes, that they will have strippers. If you kind of look at that blue line, once you just go out a little bit when you take that left, usually the strippers are right around there. You know what to do with a stripper. Lay down, legs up, let them do their thing. Take that however you want, and then grab your wetsuit and keep on running to transition. One thing to note: it is definitely a long run to transition, and the water. It's usually a wetsuit legal swim. The water can be a little cool, not like brutal cold, right? But it's a long run. I want to say I feel like 2 years ago when I was looking at my file, it was maybe like 0.6 miles from the swim exit. By the time you run across the road, which is kind of a rough surface, we'll see people leaving some like flip flops or sandals or old shoes near the swim exit because there will be some people that will opt to grab shoes to be able to run
Yeah.
across the road. So it's really about a minute that you're running on something like that. It's really not that bad. But if you happen to have really tender feet or foot issues, it's probably worth putting a pair of shoes there to throw on.
I'm going to petition Ironman when he has these long transitions. I think they give you credit for the half marathon. They go, look, lads, I've already run like a K from your T1. I'm running 20K and I'm stopping. Bring the finish line to me. I don't think
Yeah.
I'll get away with it. Okay, now that sounds like a good swim course. Is there any other kind of key tips or anything else that the athlete should know?
No, I mean, just keep an eye on those buoys, especially because there are a couple different turn buoys. You don't want to end up going a little bit too far past one because you technically would have a little bit of up current to work back into if you did. But I don't know that I've seen much of an issue ever.
No, that
Um,
sounds good.
yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. All right. So in terms of your cutoff time, standard Ironman, 1 hour, 10 minutes to get the job done. but sounds like it won't be a problem. Not too much current or chop to deal with, etc. Beautiful. Just a quick
Yes.
reference that Coach Thomas made, I'm just going to elaborate a little bit on. He mentioned a rolling swim start. And this is, for those new to Ironman distance racing, this is what Ironman do now, in essentially all aside from one race in New Zealand now, I believe. They have a rolling swim start, which means they move away from the mass swim starts where everybody, as Coach Thomas said, where they do floating starts, everyone just piles in. And they now sort of line you up in a corral. You'll turn up on the race morning, and as Coach Thomas said, there'd be corrals where you have under 25 minutes, 25 to 30 minutes. You put yourself in your estimated swim time. These guys will let in the faster swimmers first. You can see the volunteers holding everyone back here. A beep will go after everyone 4 or 5 seconds, and they'll let in 3 or 4 people at a time, depending on how many lanes they have. I love this guy. He's already straightened his Garmin. Key thing,
Absolutely.
key thing on this is seed yourself correctly. Don't think you're saving yourself closer to put off time if you put yourself into 25 minutes and you're like an hour long swimmer, you'll get swam over. It's a disaster. Put yourself in the right place. You'll swim beside people of roughly the same level. You get a draft. It'll be a much easier start to your day. Seed yourself honestly. And as Coach Thomas said as well, that's where your timing chip starts. As in, see, there's mats there. You go over and that beep goes, you'll hear your timing chip activated. So it doesn't matter if the time that it takes you 10 minutes to get into the water. Your timing chip and your cutoff time only starts here. And say thank you to the volunteers. They're nice people who have given up their day. And as Coach Thomas said, it's a great day to spend their day. Anything else on the rolling swim start you want to throw in there?
No, you said it. I mean, that was something I wanted to make sure to mention in all these races that, trying to seat yourself appropriately. And races like this that are down current, you will have people usually that will say, "Hey, I'm a 35-minute swimmer. I'm going to swim. I think I might swim a little faster." And so they'll see themselves faster. You're going to get swam over. You're going to be swam over by people, and it's not going to be an enjoyable swim. Seat yourself appropriately. You're going to have, I don't know, 50% of the people that actually will do that, but I'm going to preach that until everybody I know is seating themselves appropriately.
100%, mate. And again, I get to see it on forums. I've turned up a race in Duisburg last year, and the top guys got in. You know, the ones, the really good guys, and they're diving in off the pontoon, and they're hitting it, and they're coming out as if like they're going to the Olympics. And I saw this guy ease himself in and start doing breaststroke, and I went, oh, it was hard to watch because we were far back, and went, he's just, and you could see it just dunk. He actually got blown out to the side, and went, that's just made it. And his goggles were knocked off, and said, so look, just be race smart. And again, just please, 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 when you hear these videos, myself and the other coaches, 100% on the same page as me. Put yourself on in an honest swim time. Equates to what you kind of typically swim in the pool for hundreds, or what you've done in an open swim test. And don't expect yourself to suddenly swim 15 seconds per 100 faster. It's not going to happen. Cool. Okay, so we've started off. Now we're going to go to transition. So transition, as you said, alluded to, it's different in a number of ways to a lot of things. So it's split transition. Do you want to talk a little bit about through that?
Yes, 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 yes. So, logistically, you do know you will need to, the day before the race, take your bike out to the island, and then you will need to also drop your run gear bag off at T2 in town. So there's and something to talk about just in general logistics of this race, whether you stay on the island or whether you stay in town. There can be arguments for both of those, but you're probably talking about a 30-minute drive, especially in the afternoon, to go and drop bike if there's traffic. So you really need to allocate enough time to make sure you're not stressed logistically on getting everything in place. But yeah, like you mentioned, it is a split transition. So you get out of the swim, your bike is there, and you will not return to that place again, unless you happen to be staying on the island after race. Point to note, they do not, if you are staying on the island, it's convenient as can be in the morning, but they do not have shuttles in town to bring you back to the island after the race. So keep that in mind. And the biggest thing you need to know on a split transition like this, since you're not going to be going back, you will have a bag that you will need to put your wetsuit, your swim cap, your goggles, anything else you had on your person that's not going to go on the bike with you. That's going to need to go in a bag, and you're going to need to tie that up, and you will get that after the race with your morning clothes bag, I believe. So make sure you get that tight. Put your sticker. They'll give you stickers. Put them on there. Write your name, phone number with Sharpie on the bag as well, just in case it gets lost. But yeah, make sure to get it tucked in there good.
So they do actually use the blue and red bags for the transition bag system and that. Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
So people,
Yes.
you can
Yes.
ignore the next bullet point because I've got this wrong. But this is why we talked to the experts. I said, so it's not a traditional transition. So you do need to
Correct.
worry about the blue and red bags. It's what Ironman would call a clean transition, where these blue bags and red bags. Blue is your swim to bike bag, red is your bike to run bag. I'll actually put a link in the comments below that shows you what goes in those bags. And as Coach Thomas pointed out, as in it's even more important because typically in a normal race you have access to both those bags in the morning. You won't in this situation because you're dropping them off. Top tip from me there is when you're packing them, take a photograph what's going in because otherwise you'd be sitting up going, did I put my shades? Did I put my run shades in my run bag and all this? But if you've laid them out logically, take pictures, it'll help reduce the race day nerves. So, Coach Thomas, what's your top tip for someone doing their first 70.3 to get have a good, clean, smooth transition one?
Yeah, I think, the most important thing, I think everyone tries to overcomplicate a lot, have a whole bunch of things, potentially changing clothes, extra bottles in transition, whatever it is. I think I'm just a big fan of, keep it simple, stupid kind of philosophy on things in general, right? Once that gun goes, your brain's going to turn to mush, especially on your first time, right? You haven't gone through the motions a lot, you haven't rehearsed a lot. And yeah, anything you think and you plan that you're going to do is going to probably go, like I said, go to mush, go out the window. And so trying to keep it as simple as possible so you don't forget things is really huge. I think
Yeah,
that's the most important thing. That's good advice in general, right?
yeah, no, absolutely. Again, because if you have lots of things in your bag, even though if you don't want to use it, you can leave it there. But if you're rummaging around and there's two there's two different helmets, there's like sort of a different like was it other pieces of equipment that you are kind of nice to haves, it'll get in the way. So no, 100% agree with you there. Another thing I would throw in as well, and it's a little bit more awkward with the split transition and the point to point nature of the races. Just walk your outs, know your outs, and say, okay, right. So that's the swim exit. My bike is going to be racked over here. Walk it. Look for some inanimate object. Take a picture. I'm kind of two racks down, and I'm beside that, just in front of that tree or that portaloo. Because then when you can mentally rehearse that in your head when you're lying in bed, not sleeping the night before, because we know what that's like. And again, the same with your where the mount line is, and as in where you have to get your bike over, where Coach Thomas was shouting at you last year. And then also the dismount line when you come into the other area where you have to get off the bike entirely and where you're gonna have to run and rack your bike. So these will be different. And as Thomas said as well, the way your brain goes, you might be the smartest person in the room, but the minute you get into race brain and there's a lot of adrenaline, people are shouting at you and cheering, you're excited, your ability to think very clearly gets very, very muddled. So the more you practice it in your head and you kind of even draw out little pictures, I do that myself, and you go run down to second rack, take a left, run 2-3, that's where bike is, do plan it out in your head. Just nice and smooth. Keep everything easy. Anything else then
Yeah.
on transition, Thomas?
Yeah. On this transition, I would definitely walk it the day before when you drop your bike. You'll enter transition, and then I believe you end up actually running all the way around the outside of transition, or not the outside, the perimeter of transition, kind of counterclockwise before you come in the backside to transition. So kind of continuing the lengthy run of T1. But definitely walk that, make sure you know kind of how it works on race day.
Cool, excellent. All right, so there's
Yes,
some
sir.
other tips as well. We could go. I know there was some great tips there from Coach Thomas, and a super tip from me as well. But there's some other little short videos in the comments below if you want to check out quickly to get out your wetsuit. How to, well, actually, probably not as important because you've got your strippers, but then also the transitioning from bike to run, etc. How to run with your bike in your hand, etc. Some nice tips there. So we'll move on. And before we go on, by the way, we hope you're enjoying the video. Please, if you are, subscribe to the channel and give us a thumbs up. Um, as I said, I do more race review content. And if you're doing some other fulls, maybe you're doing Arizona, Florida, etc., etc., make sure you subscribe so you'll get access to that content as well. Check out this is was it Coach Thomas's kind of YouTube handle as well. I'm going to put his social media details in the comments as well. Do check him out. He's an excellent coach. Really loves the sport. Really loves triathlon. So if you're looking for a top-notch coach for next time you come back to Carolina to do a PB or for the rest of your season, hit him up. He's a good guy. Now, after that small little commercial interlude, we're back onto the race. Okay, point to was it one loop 56 miles of the finest roads that North Carolina can offer us? Talk us through it, coach.
Yeah, and I will say just in general, roads in North Carolina, if you're familiar with North Carolina versus South Carolina, roads in North Carolina are significantly smoother than South Carolina, which is really nice. The only place where you're going to have probably some I'll call it poor surface is on the drawbridges. There's a couple drawbridges you have to go over, and those are kind of the metal grates.
Oh,
And so generally they will have a sign out there trying to encourage you, tell you no arrow over the drawbridges. Obviously, look, no offense, but most triathletes don't have great bike handling skills anyway. And when we get down in the aero bars on a sketchy surface, it goes sideways, right? So the drawbridges will feel a little bit sketchy when you go over them. It is a metal grate. If it's a little bit wet, it feels like it can be slick. If you just sit up, have your hands on the base bars, relax, keep pedaling, stay in a straight line. Don't try and pass anybody. Don't get all nervous and weaving. Just kind of sit up, relax, and hold straight. You will go over the drawbridges and you will have no problem. I will say every time I've done this race, going over any of the drawbridges, even after 15 years of riding a bike, and I feel like I've got pretty competent bike handling skills, I get nervous going over those grades every single time. So, no, everybody generally probably is, and you're not going to fall. But they can't put any kind of a cover over those because
yeah, it'll make
worst
it
case
worse.
scenario, if a boat has to come by through, I don't think that any of the bridges have ever been raised during the race. Knock on wood. I should probably not say this out loud and put it into the universe, right? But
Uh,
they need to have capacity to be able to open those bridges for safety. Um,
okay,
but
cool.
yeah, it's a very flat race. Basically, the drawbridges are the only bit of elevation, right? Yeah. Let me move this up a skosh. Yeah. So 640 feet of gain supposedly over the entire course. I'd say that's probably pretty accurate. Everybody likes to think, oh, it's a flat course. I'm going to get to go fast. But we neglect to think with a flat course and coastal is that one, there's
Wind.
usually wind, and two, you got to pedal all the time, right? Hilly courses, you got to pedal. Maybe it's a little harder uphill, but you get that good reprieve from going downhill. You don't have that here. So, I would say if you're preparing for this race, definitely doing, kind of making sure you're spending some good time in your aero bars and you're comfortable staying there for longer stretches at a time. This is a course that will reward that for sure.
So TT bike or road bike? I'm hearing TT bike, but if
Oh
you have
yeah,
the option, what would we? And you said there was wind. So if you
yeah.
have the option of a road bike, TT bike, and also you've got disc wheels, are you throwing the kitchen sink at this bad boy, or what are we doing?
Yeah, I'm going to, I mean, look, I'm 100 and I probably race 165, 70 pounds. So I'm not light, but I'm not heavy, but I feel relatively stable. I've never had issues with a disc. Sometimes, an 80 mil front, right, in crosswinds can get a little sketchy, but still not that bad. If you got a disc, send it, right? Don't get your, road bike. If road bike's all you got, cool. If it's road bike with clip-ons, cool, great. You're out there, you're racing. That's all that matters. But, if you have options, TT bike, disc, and the deepest front wheel that you feel stable on. Yeah, I mean, I always feel like actually the disc is more stable in crosswinds, and you maybe sometimes at certain angles, right, like get a little bit of a
Yeah,
push, kind of like a sailboat might, but it's the deeper front wheel that can get a little sketchy. So if you feel a little bit nervous with a deeper front wheel, and it's potentially going to be really windy on race day, which it definitely can. I would maybe opt for a little shallower front if you feel nervous in those situations, but if you're good, the most aero you got, double disc, I don't care.
as I said, send it. I love that.
Yeah, send it.
Cool. Is there anything else particular? It seems like just a simple out and back. We do end up in a separate T2, which we'll talk about now.
Yep.
There's some no passing zones here, or what we got going on here?
Yep. I believe that is with it's on the Wrightsville Beach drawbridge.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
just and they'll have a sign out there telling you no passing, and I believe they have. I could be wrong. I believe there's a no arrow sign on the drawbridges as well. But regardless, I wouldn't go over the drawbridges in arrow anyway. So pretty simple. There. One thing that I do think has to be mentioned on a flat course, obviously we just had Ironman Texas. Flat courses, you're going to have drafters out there. Don't be that person. But there's nothing wrong with legally taking advantage of other people drafting, right? Somebody's drafting, like that's on them. But if you're sitting, you're 12 meters back, you're, whatever you feel safe with, and you're legally sitting behind them on a flat race like this, big advantage for that. And you're not doing anything illegal. You're staying legally far enough behind some other people, and that's racing, right? Especially if you're really trying to kind of be on the pointy end from a competitive side. Taking advantage of that, I think, is especially if it's really windy into some big headwinds, um, super beneficial.
No, absolutely. Cool. And plenty of aid stations. We got aid stations.
Yes.
That's it. 15 mile. We've got it at 45 mile, and that will be both sides as well, and at 35 miles. So, anything else before we move into transition two? Oh, actually, we'll talk
Nope,
about
not at
aid
all.
stations very
Yeah.
quickly as well. Is there
Yes.
anything else you want to add in?
No, it's a great bike course. Just again, be prepared to just pedal constantly.
And but that is a massive point as well. That does drain you because I did Texas there, and but like I said, it's like there's an element of if I was to go back and do a bit more training for the next time, again, even just a lot of turbo work where you're just constantly pedaling because you're not going to be stopping and it just drains the legs. Even though you think you've got a lot of road mileage, like that up and down in the reprieve, that's a massively important point. All right. We'll move on to so yeah, just before we go on, again, your cutoff time for your swim, your T1 and your bike, we've got 5.5 hours. Um, but as Coach Thomas is saying, it was a race smart, fuel, and pace yourself well. This should not be a slow course for someone who's trained. Okay, aid stations. This is key for 70.3 racing and Ironman racing in general, right? And this is your general flow of an Ironman aid station. And I'm gonna do my little rant first. See this point here, bottle toss, or we would call it rubbish. You guys would call it trash in America. You and this end here. The key thing I want to get away from here, you cannot litter, throw, was it empty bottles, was it banana peels, energy gels, anywhere else aside from the start of this point and the end of this point. And if you do, two things will happen. One, you'll get disqualified because Marshall will undoubtedly catch you, and it'd be a dumb way to get disqualified. And the two, you'll be known as a dick in the triathlon community. We actually are guests in North Carolina. We respect it. And if we take care of keep our noses clean and allow our man to come after the race and they scoop it all up as if they were never there, they'll invite us back next year. They won't if we litter and throw all our was it Morton gel packets everywhere. We're guests. Take only pictures, leave only footprints. Otherwise, as I said, the kind of the flow of an Ironman, you have volunteers with them will be handing out bottles. Typically, was it 750 ml bottles that will fit into a standard bottle cage. They'll have water. They'll have pre-mixed mortal hydration, food, bananas, and energy bars, energy gels. They are mortal hydration, which is the contract they have in North America. And if you've missed your ESO in the hydro, and sorry, your ESO bottle here or your water bottle, you have a second chance here. So don't panic. For me, on aid stations are high risk but high reward. And what do I mean by that? There's you need to have fuel for a half Ironman, and if you want to carry everything yourself, it's possible, but it'll slow you down. But so therefore, I always build Ironman aid stations into my nutrition strategy. Um, but as I said, people can throw rubbish. There's athletes moving in. There's people trying to drop bottles, sorry, or dropping bottles by accident. There's volunteers. You need to be 100% aware. Communicate to people. I'm coming in for the bottle. Don't make eye contact with a volunteer. Point it, I'm water, and they'll slow down, grab the bottle, secure the bottle. I'm coming out. I've seen too many people suddenly go, oh, there's the aid station. And by the way, the map shows where the aid stations are. And they suddenly veer across three lines of bikes and they take out people. Don't be that guy. Don't be that girl. So it's it's high risk, it's high reward. But again, I have a little video that shows below kind of do's and don'ts. Now, Thomas, is there anything else you want to add to that, or as in what's your thoughts on ride stations?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think as you're coming up, if you need water or gel or whatever it is, like you see people that have it, they'll have it, they're hopefully holding it kind of out like this right on their hand so you can just come by and grab it. But don't be afraid to say water, gel, something like that so that the volunteers can hear you and know what you're looking for. And also, I think going into an aid station, it's really important to kind of position yourself appropriately if there's a rider in front of you, a rider behind you, so that you're not too close to the rider in front of you. Because let's say they go to grab something and they drop it, you don't want to have to deal with their water bottle that they potentially just dropped. And so I think, kind of your confidence and comfort there comes into play. Hey, real quick, I'm going to apologize. Something I did not mention on the bike course that is really important that I should have is that it is an open course. It's on a highway and sorry, really important. I apologize. It is coned off. So it's super safe. But and there's parts where you're actually going against the road. So maybe the road is going this way. Normally with cars, if you're driving, you're actually biking the other direction. So just know that it is not a closed course, but it is coned off and it is very safe. Sorry, super important point, and I just saw in my notes that I did not mention that.
No, and no
But
worries in that. As in, and great, but fair you call it out now, and as opposed to not call out, and it means that people
yeah,
watch the video more of the video because they're learning. Perfect.
yes.
Okay, aid stations. Anything else then as well? Any talk? Do you use aid
Yeah.
stations, or are you one of these self-sufficient guys who are going too fast? You don't need to slow down for it. You can get away with 2 bottles on the bike.
Yeah, in a half, I mean, I have, a bottle between the arms, a bottle behind the saddle, and like an arrow bottle on the frame. And then I'll pick up water as needed on the aid station. I pretty much race the bike with just liquids. I don't do any gels on the bike. So it's just simple. So, depending on how hot it is, will depend on how much extra water I've got to pull off the course, whether or off the aid stations. I usually at most aid stations will toss my empty bottle. I will grab a water, drink some, squirt some on me, rinse however needed, hold it in my mouth, get the second bottle, put it in the rear behind my saddle, toss the empty water bottle at that last chance trash. So basically, I'm using the initial bottle toss, the first bottle, the second bottle, and the last chance trash at every aid station. I like having that bottle behind me just in case I need some extra water, maybe between aid stations, or if it's a hotter race, so I can cool a little extra. But yeah, I tend to just get water off aid stations, even in a full. Just take water off aid stations
Yeah, no, that's a good call.
for me.
And and again, there's yeah, no, but even knowing that beforehand and working out your nutrition strategy and like your hydration strategy is key because you need to know, like your routine there and all the rest, and therefore as that I need 2 bottles, etc. So you plan for that. It's not something you make up on the fly. And I get my athletes to do a lot of practicing beforehand in terms of like what's their hydration strategy, what's their nutrition strategy, but also on the day and the last couple of days, I get them to practice actually taking a bottle off their kid, their partner, or whatever. Like I said, just do it a couple of times. You don't. It's not something you want to try out for the first time that you're going to go try to grab a bottle off someone as you're going at whatever 20k an hour and all the rest. It's a difficult skill, and yes, you'll drop it a couple of times, and there'll be a little bit of giggles, but better to do it then to just have that comfort level about how to do it on come race day.
Yeah,
Um,
and side note on that real quick, and I apologize. What side of the road do you guys ride on? Um,
left side.
do, you guys are, yeah. So if you're coming from somewhere that is on the left hand side of the road, right? We in the US we ride on the right hand side of the road. So something that threw me for a big loop in New Zealand at 70.3 Worlds is all the aid stations were on the left side of the road, right?
Yeah.
So I went to go grab a water bottle, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've never in 15 years grabbed a water bottle with my left hand. So if you're used to that, know that all of the aid stations will be on the right side.
And for overtaking, by the way, I've got, like I said, like it's very
Oh
weird
yeah,
for us Europeans going over to American races and you go like, God, on your left, on your right, which am I going?
yeah, yes, absolutely. Keep that in mind for sure.
Yeah. And okay, so just again, as I said, I'm not trying to scare you about aid stations. Aid stations are your friend, as I said, but you just need to know some key do's, don'ts, and like sort of like know when you're going to use it. Very simple video in the comments below that talks you through it and shows some cool video footage of pros messing it up. This one pro that went knocked off in a T20, 4 water bottles in a row, and in Singapore, and I was going like, and she needed those. But again, if you watch the video, you'll be better than that pro, guaranteed, or your money back. Okie doke. Now we are talking about T2, which we again split transition, so we're coming into a different place altogether. What's the location like for the T2?
It's right in town. It's in a parking lot. The parking lot has a little bit of a slope down from back to front. So, but it's a pretty basic transition. Well, you go right in kind of. I think it's the back center, and then there'll be rows of racks on both sides going down. So, not overly complicated in terms of layout. Most people will have their red bags tied onto the bike rack at their spot. So you'll just need to make sure to know where that is, and you'll go right to that spot. You'll throw your bike up, open your bag, dump it out, and put on your run stuff and get after it. You don't have to put. I don't believe you do. Nope. You don't have to put your helmet or anything from your bike into that run bag. You can just leave it there. You will go when you go back to pick up your bike at the end of the race. You'll just get all of your stuff that is there. Yes, there are no bike catchers at this race, so you will dismount at the mount line and then just run your way to your bike rack.
I I'm personally disappointed. I thought North Americans gave us all the VIP experience, like Maryland and Texas. I love the concept. You had a bike
Oh
catcher. I was
my
going,
gosh,
that is, I did ask them to service the bike as well, and they went, no, no, that's not. What if they
yeah,
tip you? It's not how it works in America.
it's
Um,
uh, it's old school cool having the bike catchers. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, you feel like such a rock star. You kind
Yeah.
of got this. So this is how the pros feel. Okay, cool. Um, and any other tips for T2? I'll give you my
Yeah,
top tip.
I mean, super simple. I mean, nothing good happens spending too much time in transition, right? Don't rush. I think fast but smooth is kind of the way I always like to think about it. Don't sit there and, dawdle around taking your time trying to adjust this. Like I'm a big fan also of just putting my race belt, sunglasses in my hat. And so basically, I will, grab what I need and I will run out and I will be holding my hat that has my race belt, sunglasses, and probably my nutrition in it as well. And so as I'm running out of transition, I will then put my race belt on, put my hat on, put my sunglasses on, and kind of hold my nutrition. So kind of everything except for my socks are just in my hat, and then my socks will be inside my shoes, kind of turned inside out, ready to go. You know what I mean? Where you kind of half fold them inside out, put them down in your shoes so you can slide them on real quick.
Are you a socks on bike and and a new pair of socks in running guy, or what are you
I
just
am not a socks on bike guy,
okay?
but I am socks on running guy. And to be perfectly frank, that is because I know I'm going to pee probably two times on the bike. Um, and I don't want to take it. Look, it's the nature of the sport. If somebody hasn't talked about this to you, then great news. Like you can practice peeing on your bike, not practice only on race day. I digress. But yeah, so I don't wear socks on the bike, and then I will just put socks on in T2 for the run.
I'm also that guy, but also and then a question at the end, which this is going down a very strange path. How often you change your bike shoes then? Because you can't exactly wash them in the washing machine, like, and they do smell.
Yeah, I do. I try and hose them off afterwards, before kind of packing everything off, and kind of try and leave them out. Take the insoles out, rinse them off, and yeah, I mean that's a great point. It's also why probably peeing on the bike or practicing peeing on the bike in training is not recommended because I also have different shoes that I wear on race day as
Yeah.
opposed to training. So yeah, but it's
Okay,
a look, it's a
and
part
my
of the
final
puzzle.
question, final question on this: Do you? And I this is what I do. Do you apologize to the race volunteers and are taking up your time and ship because you're going like, yeah, that might smell a little bit, but it's just my sweat.
No, no. And they have on gloves. I'm
That's
assuming
true.
they're well versed in the fact that there is sweat, probably maybe maybe blood. The first time I did this race in 2013, I wrecked on the bike and had some blood running down my knee coming across the finish line onto my sock. But yeah, I think it's either known that that's likely or they don't know. And if they don't know,
Don't ruin the dream.
and yeah, don't ruin their day. Don't ruin their day.
I had so much fun taking off Mr. P Pants was a timing chip. Okay. But again, yes, it's something I've thought. I think we do need to talk about this, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, we won't go too much into it. You stole one of my tips, as in my tips is NGHIT2. Nothing good happens in
Ah,
T2. Move out of there. As in, or as one of my athletes said, the only thing that you find in T2 are other people's problems. So just get out. Someone's there complaining about their bike split. Someone's there saying their hamstring's tight. Get out of the negative energy zone. Start running because start running. The sooner you get to the finish line, the sooner you get to a nice cold beer, meet up with your family, your friends, you talk the war stories. As you said, in and out. Okay.
yes.
There's some other tips as well, like short videos, like a minute of like how to get your runners on quick and how to avoid blisters and la 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 in the comments below. Hope you find them useful. Um, but now we're on to that run course. One loop course in North Carolina. Talk us through it. What's the surface? Is it hilly? Hot?
Yes.
Shade?
I think they say it's rolling, but I don't think it's fair to call it rolling at all. It's a very flat course.
I'm
Yeah, I mean that says 261 feet a game. There's a little bit of a hill, kind of getting off of I think off of Front Street at one point. It doesn't feel fair to call it a hill anyway. But yeah, this year is nice. If you look at that map, so a great thing for your spectators, you got family, friends supporting that kind of area right after transition around that first mile. There's a little bit of an out loop around and back, and so your family, friends, spectators can actually see you now. This is newer, running out of transition. I think last year was the first year they had it this way, running out of transition, and then about the mile one mark. So kind of nice to be able to get to see your people there and say, hey, give some high fives, get a little love and cheer for sure. Great place for your spectators to hang out. because they're probably after that they're not really going to see you until the finish. So
Okay.
from there, it's pretty much yeah, it's effectively an out and back course. Obviously, there's a little bit of separation around mile 6, 7, 8 in the park there, but it's a really pretty run. It's you're running on Front Street. You're running basically right through downtown, kind of some of the old buildings. There's usually people lined on the street. Really well supported that first probably 2.5 miles. And then when you get out to, sorry, yep, right in that area where you are, super well supported. And then I think when you take that left at about mile 2.5, there's a little bit of a hill there. And then you take a right and it kind of starts to grade. Yeah, there you go. You can see it on the elevation profile. Kind of grades down a little bit into around the lake at that park. And there's definitely some shady spots in and around there, which are nice. But honestly, historically, this is not a very hot race. It's usually a very comfortable temperature race. I mean, it's certainly warm by the end of the day, but not like a blistering hot kind of a race. But a little bit of shade is always nice, right? Never hurts. The thing that I think is really great about this course, I love a good out and back course because seeing other people being able to, say, hey, you see your friends out there, you see, other people you're trying to beat, whatever it is, being able to, give a high five, say, hey, you just pick up a ton of good energy on this course. And I think that can't be taken for granted. It's really awesome run course.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, there's a difference as well when you're trying to catch someone or someone's catching you. What I will be doing is that when I get to this point, if I'm catching someone, or sorry, if someone's chasing me, I'll sort of go, okay, right, and I'll start counting the amount of seconds that it takes before I see them again. And again, you work out, okay, right, that, and then your head suddenly become do maths. Remember we were saying it can't
Uh,
do any, it couldn't figure it out. I become like the matrix, all the ones and zeros. Okay, that means he's running at that pace, and that means I've got this much. And realistically, the only thing I should do really is just keep running as fast as possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's always a good feeling with this one when you kind of get back onto Front Street, when you got maybe what, a mile and a half to go to the finish line, and you kind of get back and that support picks up again there too. And you'll see people going out, you'll see people, maybe passing you or that you're passing, and it's just it's not one of those courses where you feel like you're ever alone on the run
Yeah,
course
yeah, yeah.
as a whole, which is really nice.
And there's also like then also an element of when there's lapped courses, like you don't know whether or not someone's ahead of you, behind you, and also you want to be enthusiastic for people. You sort of go like, "I'm nearly there," and go, "Actually, no, I'm on my first lap." And you go, "No, no, no!" Like it's a purest course. You sort of go, "Okay, if he's
Yes.
in front of me, he's in front of me," and like if we're running together, like we're running like that's the stuff where you kind of go, "Oh, I have to go this way and I go that way." It just makes for a more honest experience, and I love an out and back course. Um, cool. The anything else you want to throw in the on the run course? Lots of aid stations. Look like there's one every sort of
Yes.
mile or so.
Yes, very, very frequent, and very well supported. I feel like there's been a lot of over the years. There's been a lot of kids like from some of the local schools out there. I think
Okay.
Ironman Foundation has something to do with that. But and on that note, I'm going to take a quick second to say don't be a dick to the people at the aid stations. I've seen it before, and it's the least favorite thing when you've got these kids that are taking their day to be out there and volunteer and giving you water or giving you gels or whatever it is. Like, man, say thanks, say appreciate it, give them a fist bump, whatever it is. Like, make sure they feel appreciated for taking their day to be out there too.
100%. It doesn't matter if your race is going wrong. It doesn't matter if you're like that's on you. You don't take it out on the people who
Yeah,
facilitate. And again, I say that to the woman because thank a volunteer, be polite, have a bit of fun with them, as in have a joke with them. How are you getting on? How are you? Oh, you look great. I feel absolutely terrible, but thank you. Like they love that stuff, and and then they'll
yeah,
turn around, and in fairness you have the chance to kind of inspire people to do stuff, or you could put them off the sport. You go like, "Well, how was your day?" I was at the aid station. There was like 100 people nice to me, and then these two guys were just rude. They said I dropped the bottle, la la la. And you go like, "No, I
yeah,
don't want really. That's not a sport I want to be involved in." As opposed to these guys were just awesome. It was hot. They were thankful. They were pouring the water down their front. It was hilarious and all the rest. And then they'll sort of turn into the next generation of athletes and all the rest. And that's what we want to be. Like we want to without sounding evangelical about the whole thing, the more we can
yeah,
pour back of positive energy into the sport, the more it gives back, like that's what it's all about. So 100% agree with you there, Thomas.
yeah.
And The only thing, by the way, just a shout out on the aid station, you have Coke, which is normally there, which is not on the bike aid stations, and that's your liquid fuel if your wheels are coming off. I always go for the Coke on the very last few aid stations just to make sure I get over the line. But the rest of it the same. You'll have your toilet places as well. The Portaloos of Doom. Try to avoid them if you can, but like if you gotta go, you gotta go. Um,
Absolutely.
okay. Anything else on the run course or
No, it's a great finish line. The one thing I will say with the new, I say the new finish line where they've gone back to kind of the old finish line, it's a little bit tight around the finish line. So uh, you can, your spectators, your family, friends, supporters, they can easily see you like in probably the 50, 60 yards before the finish line, or they can kind of get over there and see you a little bit after once you've kind of gotten out. But it's really hard just because it's kind of squeezed into a bit of a narrow street, which is really awesome because you're running down that finishing chute and you feel like you're surrounded by people, which is super epic, right? But
yeah.
just know that your supporters may have a hard time seeing you right close to the finish line.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. All right,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
speaking of that finish line, swim, T1, bike, T2, run, you've got 8 hours and 30 minutes to get it done. And actually, here's the finish line as you were talking about. Is this the new finish line or is this the old finish line? I don't know if I got the right picture here.
Um, I, oh gosh, I'm not sure. I don't think that's the new finish line, but it's also not the older finish line. It doesn't matter. That's not where I don't think that's not the current finish line.
This is the red carpet. The red carpet will be used to decide,
Yes.
and that's where you're going to get your noise, and that's when you're going to start high-fiving people and enjoying it. And this is what you need to visualize when it's getting tough on the run, and you feel like you're 6 miles out or whatever. This is what you think about. This is what you think about afterwards. Getting the medal on your neck, meeting up your family, friends, bit of bragging. And the cool thing about when like cities like this, like you wander around, people you've got your finisher t-shirt, randomers are coming up to you and going like, "Wow, that's really impressive." Enjoy that moment. It's a wonderful, wonderful moment. And a couple of days afterwards. Okay, we'll talk a little bit about the t timetable, and then we'll wrap it up, I think, my friend. So, registration opens on Thursday at 2 p.m. Now, this is the based on the last year's athlete guide. So make sure you do check out the most recent athlete guide because they can change things. Typically not. They have a set playbook, but Ironman does need you to adapt. But they will allow you to register on Thursday and a Friday. Not a chance on a Saturday. Athlete briefings. I'm a big fan of going to these. I love them because, as again, certain things can change at the end, but also it's part of the energy. It's part of the kind of the experience going and all the rest. And you like, and the more experienced athletes like myself and Thomas, is like I'm more than happy to answer people's questions if they go to like, oh, what do you think? I said, God, I love to talk. So lots of athlete briefing options. The Saturday is the bike drop off and the timing chip pick up, etc. That's between 10 and 7. When do they do the run bag drop off? Is that between that window as well, or
I believe so, but important. I'm making sure. Hang tight, come back. Yeah, I'm looking up, but I think it's that same day before. And I think whether you do the bike drop or run drop is kind of going to depend on the location where you're staying. But important, this actually get back up those days. One, this is a Saturday race,
oh
not
yeah,
a Sunday race. So definitely it's one of the few Saturday races. So back that up. It's October 25th. So all the days are backed up one.
yep. So apologies for that. Again, this is
No,
so that will be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday be the the bike drop off, and race morning is on Saturday, which transition should open at 4:30 and the shuttle start. I think I got that bit right.
I think so,
Um,
yeah.
in terms of any last minute tips for people on race morning, especially with this complexity, logistically complex race, any last minute tips?
If you're staying in town, there are two shuttles. There is a shuttle that will take you from town out to T1. And then there's after you get T1 set up, if you want to take the shuttle to the swim start, there's a second shuttle that will take you to the swim start. Now, it logistically, it seems like a lot and it's definitely a stressful point, but I think it's important to understand that this race has been put on for a long time. Sammy, the current race director, is absolutely fantastic. Like she dots her I's, she crosses her T's. The logistics are unbelievably well done. There will be enough shuttles. Do not stress about that. But no, if you're in town, there are two shuttles. There's a shuttle to take you to T1 and a shuttle to take you to the swim start.
Fantastic. And our rolling start for the age groupers starts at 7 on Saturday. Saturday. Cool. Um, all right. We are just now again. Before I wrap this up, these contact details are going to be in the below. On behalf of all the viewers, I'm going to say thank you ever so much to Thomas for his time, his energy, and his insight onto this really cool race. You've been absolutely fabulous. Really appreciate your time. And as I said, for people, if you're looking for a top-notch coach, look no further. He is a top guy. I've had a couple of conversations with him over the email, etc., and even our pre-chat beforehand. He's into the sport. He's not in it. He's not. He's emotionally invested in it. He was one of these guys. So definitely look him up if you want a PB. If you're looking at North Carolina, if you want to just, was it really kind of take your getting to the next level, he's your guy. Thomas, as I said, thank you very much. Is there anything, any last words you want to give to the viewers?
No, happy to be here. This is a ton of fun. Anytime there's an opportunity to give back and help people, I'm all for it. I would definitely say the most important thing with this race is you got to decide where you want to stay, right? Do you want to stay in town or do you want to stay out by the beach? And I think that's going to depend on, if you got other people with you, if you've got kids that maybe want to play at the beach. I think, take that all into consideration. If you're kind of solo by yourself, I think staying in town's pretty easy. But if you got kids or you got a group, I think it can be a ton of fun to stay out at the beach. You just got to make sure you got a way to get back there afterwards.
No, fantastic. Again, you
Yeah.
still giving out great tips. I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah.
Listen, we're gonna call it there. As I said, thanks again for your time. And for those racing in North Carolina, best of luck. Have a good time. Let us know you got in the comments below, and remember to like and follow us on social media. It's key. All right. Thanks, Thomas.